Yeah, that's really good. Something you just said I want to hit on is the that rift between agency leadership and then the creatives who are typically charged with delivering on what was sold, right? And so, in my experience in agency land, it did feel like a gulf a lot of times between what each side was saying to the other, and trying to bridge those two things was difficult. And some of that difficulty may come from pressures or false expectations from the client. But there's the notion of being creative on demand that, while I think has maybe originated with good intent, because if you think about it, I sold a thing and now I've got to be creative with that thing, as opposed to, let me just muse a bit and see what comes to me, instead of, there's a particular request with a particular deadline. And I believe that the owners and leadership will feel that because there's financial implications. And so thinking, just holding space to think, can seem like an unproductive use of time. That's my experience, but what have you seen as sort of the prevailing wisdom or way of thinking in the agencies you work with?
Definitely have seen everything that you described, where usually, even if someone has the self-awareness to say like, no, like I need to strategize, I need to plan, those are both functions of thinking. Even if they will block out that time in their calendar, it's the first thing that goes if they feel overwhelmed by a client deadline. It disappears.
Absolutely.
And people don't hold that time sacred like they should, because they feel the pressure of the urgency rather than the important things of thinking and being able to step out of the day-to-day a little bit more. Also, having, as an agency leader specifically, when you're balancing cash flows and the need for deadlines to be met with creatives and creativity and the creative process, having to find a solution that works in both realms can be tricky, especially depending on what type of creative you're selling and delivering to clients. So sometimes it's a matter of making sure that you have enough resources on deck so that there's always a creative channel that can be funneled into, even if one particular person is experiencing burnout or just isn't quite picking it up for the specific client. You can even build in more like workshop style sessions with clients, so that it's not like a back and forth of a tennis ball, but it's more so a collaborative effort, so that there's more alignment and less stress and concern on both sides. So there's some ways to get around that too, but I see a lot of challenge coming from just the need to be less project-based and be more retainer-based as well. And when you do that, which is very important for agencies so that you have sustainable and forecastable cash flows, you are going to run into situations where you're going to have to switch out creatives working on the project sometime, because creative burnout is a thing and you need new ideas. And so you have to create those systems and processes within your agency too.